Today we are going to discuss about how to add entity framework in Visual Studio. Let's start with an example here. As you can see, this is my solution demo and I want to add entity framework to this project. First of all, right click on the project icon and click add new item. A new dialog will come. Select the data item. Select ADO.NET Entity Data Model and rename as you want. I have renamed it as Entity Model. Now click Add button. If you click the Add button, you will be navigated to another screen where you can select Generate from Database and click Next button. Now a new dialog will come where you can make new connection. Click on the New Connection button. Here you can assign the server name of your database and the database name also. Here I need to specify the server name. If server name is specified, you can select whether it is Windows Authentication or SQL Authentication. If that is also, I have selected now Windows Authentication. Now select the database name. If you have selected the database name and the server name correctly, you can just test the connection by clicking the test connection button. It will show test connection succeeded if everything is OK. Click on the OK button and click OK button for navigating to next screen. Now you can see a confirmation screen about the connection that you have made right now. In this section, you can see the connection string that will be placed on the web.config. This will be the instance of the entity, master entity. If everything is OK, click on the next button. That will lead to a new dialog where you can select the tables, views and SPs, means stored procedures. And that you can check some of the facts, including foreign key in the model and importing the stored procedures and functions into the entity model. I have checked two tables at here and selected all the SPs. Now just click the Finish button in order to import the entity framework to your project. When you click the Finish button, you can see a new entity framework. Here the entity model.edmx will be added to your project. And you can see all the tables selected at the time of creation of the entity model will be placed in a diagram here. And inside web.config, you can see the newly created connection string is placed with the new instance master entities. By this way, we can add entity framework to our solution. Here we consider how to insert data using entity framework. First of all, we strongly recommend to use using statements in order to do automatic opening and closing of database connections. Instead of using statements, we can create an instance of the entity that we have added earlier. Before starting the insert operation, let's see how much data is present inside database. If you execute this query, insert test table, you can see there is no data available right now. Let me explain this code. First of all, we need to create an instance of the table and then we need to add each row to this table. Finally, after adding each row, we need to do the save changes method for inserting data into the database. Let's run this application. As you can see, the breakpoint is hit. Let me press F10. Created an instance of the table and we are adding rows to that table. Finally, we are saving changes to the database using save changes method. Yes, the output is 1. That means data is inserted successfully. Now on the SQL side, let me run this query. Select star from test. Previously there was no entry. Now if you execute, yes, you can see new entry is inserted. By this way, we can insert data into the database using entity framework. Now let's consider how to read from database using entity framework. Before that, we need to use using statements for the opening and closing of database objects. Inside using statements, create an instance of the entity framework. Here I have created an instance called obj, and then create a list to accept the database result. And then using linked query, you can get the value from database. That value will be assigned to this list. Now let's consider one example here. We are trying to get value from database table test using entity framework. Currently, there is only one entry in the table. Let's run this application. As you can see, the breakpoint is hit. Let me press F10. Now created the instance of the entity, created the list of objects, getting value from database, assigning it to the list. Yes, as you can see, there is having only one object with the database entries name and state. By this way, we can read database objects using entity framework. So let's consider how to update data using entity framework. Here you can see I have already created one instance of the entity framework named obj. Now what we need to do is we need to update one row of a table from the database. For that, we need to create the instance of that row. That means one class. Now get that row from database using linked query and assign that row to this class. After that, assign new values to this row and then do the change to the database using save changes method. Let's go with one example here. As you can see on my test table, I have only one row. I want to change the name with a new one. Let's run this application. As you can see, the breakpoint is hit. Now let me press the F10. Now creating the entity object. Now creating the instance of your class, fetching the data from database and assigning it to the class. After that, we are modifying the data with new value and then saving the data to the database. Now if you go to the SQL part and executing the following query, select star from test. As you can see, it is modified with a new value. That means updation was successful. By this way, we can update the database using entity framework. Let's consider how to delete data using entity framework. First of all, create an instance of entity framework here. Here the instance is obj, and then create an instance of the class that needs to be deleted, and then get the table row that needs to be deleted from database and assign that row to the class that is earlier created. Now perform the delete operation using save changes method. By this way, we can delete a row from database using entity framework. Now let's consider one example here. As you can see on my table test, there is one row with test name and test state value. Now I'm going to perform a delete operation using entity framework. Let's run this application. The breakpoint is hit. Now let me press F10. As you can see, now creating the instance of entity framework and then creating an instance of the class that needs to be deleted. Now getting the data from database that needs to be deleted, and finally we are doing the delete operation using save changes method. Now on the SQL part, let me execute the query again. If you execute the query again, you can see the value is deleted, the row is deleted. By this way, we can do the delete operation using entity framework. Thank you guys for watching this video. Please visit technomark.in for more information.